Hailing from the Jersey Shore and raised as athletes, the Airey Bros have always shared a passion for physical culture, athletic performance, and human optimization, always striving to be the strongest versions of themselves, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Along the way, they've met some pretty amazing humans and have had some pretty epic adventures. The intention of Airey Bros Radio is to showcase these amazing people and the impact that they've had on them, and to share tips, tricks, and hacks so that you can win each day, every day.
You're listening to Airey Bros Radio. Be there or be square, because it's all killer, no filler.
And that was like my net revenue, like instantly. Like we're talking 1 month. Like I literally went from making $4,000 to 40 a month in 1 month. I feel like for you it's hard right now because maybe it hasn't paid off for you the way that you want it to yet. But once it happens one time, you're gonna be like, dude, this is the way to go. You almost kill them with kindness because they know that like you don't like them. And she's, what's this? You paid it for 2 months? I was like, no, keep it. Like, I'm fucking rich, bitch. Like, this is crazy. So it's like, if you could have that kind of effect, you're probably gonna win, man. Why would I want to be a strength and conditioning coach for the NFL team, make $100,000 a year, you know, when I could make $100,000 a month, like on my own, doing my own thing? And I was like, fuck, man, like I am really good at this. Like I should just own it and whatever, and fuck everybody else, you know? When you're in the grocery store and you're in an aisle that you know you're not supposed to be in, like you're in the really processed like graham crackers and all the shit, you're just like, dude, fuck, man, what are people doing? I'm happy I did it just because so I could like prove to myself I'm not a fucking psycho. Man, fuck, I've met the coolest people in my life off of my podcast. I actually haven't talked about this yet. This will be the first time I've ever talked about it. Somebody be like, this guy fucks. Hey guys, this is Ryan Fischer and you are listening to Airey Bros Radio. I got to get back to the podcast. I'm something on my list to get back to. Just got a lot of work to do, man.
Yeah, I understand that you got a lot of work and you got a lot of online stuff. Just know that podcast was gold, and I looked forward to every episode. And you're a really good host. Not to make your head too big.
I appreciate it. It's probably my favorite platform, just because you just get to meet people that you wouldn't normally get to talk to, and like it's not like a 2-minute, little reel or something like that. It's like a real conversation. You get to make relationships with other people, and man, fuck, I've met the coolest people in my life off of my podcast.
Yeah, we are like Jimmy said, we're big fans, and I think probably the most important question to start off the episode for you, knowing that you're a Jersey guy and specifically from Ocean County, is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
Is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
Yeah,
pork roll.
All right.
That was my sandwich in high school. I used to get a pork roll, egg, and cheese from Manhattan Bagel.
Right on.
Oh, yeah.
That was the jam. Are you guys still there in New Jersey right now, in Point Pleasant?
No, I'm in Denver, and Rich is in South Carolina.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So knowing that you're from Ocean County and listening to a bunch of the podcasts, you've always talked about riding your bike all over and riding your bike like 30, 40 minutes away from home and getting flat tires. So where were you riding your bike out to? Were you going to like Lakehurst? Were you going to the beach? Were you going to Ortley? Where were you going?
Typically it was, I lived in Toms River, so I would ride from Toms River to either like Lakewood or like Howell, which was like a solid 30-minute drive. I would ride to different parts of like South Toms River, and it was mainly just because like other kids were talking about like, there's a bunch of cool dirt jumps out there. That's where you want to go. I'd look at like BMX Plus magazine, and there'd always be a bunch of people like on these big jumps, and I'm like, man, I have to find this place. So I don't know, I'd always like just look around, chat with people who also did BMX and ask them where the jumps were, and they'd be like, oh dude, it's like way that way. So I would just kind of like just get lost. One of my go-tos at the time was my mom gave me a prepaid Nextel phone. You remember those things?
Yeah.
Big old brick. And she'd be like, you got like 100 minutes on this thing. So like whenever you need me, just call me. And I would, that was when I would call her and be like, hey mom, so I have a flat tire in like Lakewood, and she'd be like, fuck, that's a 30-minute car drive. How did you get there? So that's kind of how it started for sure.
Do you ever go home and visit, or do you always bring your mom out to California?
Dude, I wish my mom flew more. Unfortunately, she's only been on an airplane twice her whole life, and it was to see me in California. So at the moment, I'm actually debating on going home either this weekend or Monday. I'll fly into like New York City. I'll hang out in New York City for a few days, probably meet up with some other people out there for a few days, and then I'll go home. My mom lives in Whiting now. You know where that is?
Yeah.
A little bit more of the sticks there.
Yeah.
So she has like a big piece of property though. Her house is great. You know, like where we had a smaller house in Tom's River at the time. So yeah, I mean, I might go out there. I don't like to go out very much. I really do not like New Jersey anymore. I do like going to the city. New York City's cool. You know what got really cool actually is Asbury Park is kind of cool now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's coming together.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Do you ever get nostalgic and miss New Jersey? But you answered that for us, and that's kind of where we
Absolutely
are.
not. Never. Once you go West Coast, you're fucked.
Yeah, manifest destiny for sure.
Yeah.
So you were a Tom's River East guy, right?
Yep.
And you ran track, and did you run cross country too?
I did, yeah.
Who was your coach back then?
For track, his name was Pat Thomas. He's actually the principal now of the school.
Okay. Was he wasn't in the reserves, was he? He wasn't a National Guard guy?
That's Rob Roma.
Okay, yeah.
He was also one of my coaches, yep.
Okay, cool. So I grew up running cross country and track, and we both wrestled, but I also coached cross country and track in Ocean County. So I was kind of familiar. When I was coming up, George Schrader was the coach at East, and then it was Roma, and then I think Brian Decker took over for cross country as well at one point when I was around there before I started traveling. So with that being said, how did you go from being a distance runner to discovering that you had some fast twitch muscle fibers and could push a bobsled?
A lot of people ask me that question a lot. I think I just was born with both. It's very interesting. You know, like I can even still to this day, like I don't know how much you know about me now, but like I had my old CrossFit career and my knee is all fucked up. So like now I can't really run anymore. But like David Goggins came to my gym a couple months ago and I ran 4 miles with him and a bunch of other like big crowd of people. And it was the first time I had ran anything over like 400 meters in years. And I ran my 4 miles with him in literally like, it was like a 6:30 pace, you know, and I just don't ever run. And it's there. And then like when I sprint, it's like the same thing. It's just like always there. I think the main difference between me now and like as a distance runner or a power athlete was always just body weight. It's like in high school, I was 100 and I don't know, like my best I think my best time ever, like that I was like really excited about was I ran 2 miles in 10 flat as a sophomore. And I think I weighed like 135, 140 pounds at the time. And then when I did bobsled and I was really good, I was 208 pounds. So it was like a huge difference in body weight.
Did you do any like sprint type stuff while you were in high school, or were you strictly, 32, 1600?
Yeah. So like when I first started running track, they actually put me in the 200, the 400, the 800, and the mile. So I was actually good at all of them. The 200 and the 400, I was still really good at. I think I was running like 51, 52 second 400s at the time. So it was still pretty fast. Although like the top guys in the county were like 50 or 49s. But I was like one of the better guys on the team in those runs. And then my coach at the time was like, well, let's just see if you can do an 800. And I ran an 800 in like almost 2 minutes, like 2:04 or something like that. And then they're like, well, let's just see how you do in the mile. So then I ran the mile and did pretty good in that. I got like a 4:40. And then they're like, let's see how you do in the 2 miles. Like we started to notice like the longer it got, I didn't really get that much slower. I could get a little bit slower, but not that much slower. So when it came to like cross country, I think my best 3 mile was like 15:36. My best 3.1 mile in cross country. Park. I don't remember what the run was. It was a flat course though. It didn't have a lot of hills.
Did you ever spend some time at Homedale Park?
Yeah. Cool little spot.
Yeah. I guess my last question for reminiscing about Tom's River East is, are you a fan of Warren Reed?
I don't even know the fuck that is.
He was a wrestling coach.
Still a wrestling coach.
Oh, I can't remember. I mean, I think that might have been the guy when I used to walk around in high school. He used to be like, you need to wrestle. And like, he would just see me and like, just see me all stocky. And he'd be like, I remember him like somehow he got my phone number for my, for my home. And he would like call my mom and be like, your son needs to wrestle. He looks like a wrestler. And funny enough, I think the biggest reason I didn't want to wrestle in high school is because I didn't really want to wear spandex and everybody see my junk, which now I could care less about. But it's so funny when you're in high school, you're like, dude, I don't want people to see my junk.
It's funny because people buy PDFs now with your junk in it. So I've heard you talk about on other podcasts going to a gym and meeting a bobsledder from Tons of East who's on the Olympic team. And then it kind of went full circle when you made the Olympic training team. You met him, but I guess prior to asking you questions about that, what gym was that? Was that Tom's River Fitness? Was that KS Fitness?
It was Tom's River Fitness. Yeah, right off of, I don't remember the name of the street.
Yeah, 37.
It might have been 37. I know there's a bike shop across the street called Patty's Pedal Power.
Yeah, it's over by like the Kmart over there and it's by Jules. So when you made the Olympic training team and then you wound up meeting that gentleman again, what was that like? Was that like a big deal for you, or was that something kind of years later you like reminisced on? Like, wow, that's pretty cool.
I think it's a big deal because, like, you know, you're young and you see this guy you really look up to, and then like 10 years later, you know, you accomplish something that you thought was the coolest thing back then, and then you meet the same guy who basically inspired you at the time. And I remember talking to him, and he didn't seem as blown away as I was, but like he was like, you know, it's good to see you. Like, you know, good luck. Basically, he was like pretty casual about it, and I was like, fuck, dude, like, do you understand how insane this is right now? But yeah, it's just a really cool moment. You know, I think meeting him, you know, when you're young, like you just hold on to things so strongly. Like it's just like, you know, we all have like these sentences in our lives when we're younger that like we never ever forgot. Like someone just said one thing and you're like, I still remember that. And it's like, I think meeting him was kind of like one of those experiences where I was like, fuck, like, you know, it's just really cool to see what people are capable of. And like, you know, when you're young and you see like an Olympian, you feel like you saw a fucking Superman, you know? So it just kind of makes you feel like, you know, I want to do something really, really cool.
You think him kind of being nonchalant about it was maybe because as he saw you now more as a man, he viewed you as a little bit of competition?
No, I don't think so. I think at the time I was doing skeleton. I wasn't even doing bobsled. So that was head first down the track. I did that for 3 years and then bobsled for 1.
And what's that like? Because I mean, I've seen, you know, the luge and then it transitioned. They did the skeleton. I mean, it seems as if you have to have brass balls to go head first down a like a slip and slide made of ice.
Everybody seems to think that, you know, they all think skeleton's the scariest sport. I would say it's probably the least scariest in terms of when you're actually on the track and doing it, because the number one scariest is actually luge, because your feet first, and the way that the sled steers is very, very sensitive. Like if you fucking farted, you'd go into a 360. Like it's so sensitive. And then the bobsled is the second scariest because when you crash, it's like, it's dangerous. Like you can break your neck and stuff like that. And then skeleton, you typically don't crash very much because the sled doesn't steer. It's not super aggressive steering. It's very minimal movements. And I think because you have your eyes forward, you have a little bit better vision going down the track. And if you didn't steer at all, the sled would still kind of like have a pretty good graceful path. You only steer to go faster and to like squeeze little bits of speed out of the turns, but it's actually the safest one.
And are you steering kind of with your core and just how you adjust your body and move on the skeleton itself?
Yeah, it's all body movement. So like I can't remember if it's left or right turn anymore, but like for one of the turns, you would press your right shoulder and your left knee. And then for the other side, you would push your left shoulder and your right knee. So like that pressure would move the sled.
Okay. Have you ever been
have to do it like subtle
movements? Have you ever been skydiving?
Yep, a couple times.
You ever think about getting into a wingsuit because of your skeleton experience?
I actually had a roommate in San Diego who used to do that, and he actually got sponsored by Red Bull and did it everywhere. It was insane. And then he died on a jump in
I knew
Brazil.
That was coming, man. I knew that was coming. Bummer.
So I guess that happens to them a lot. Like those guys, it's like it's supposed to be like the number one most dangerous thing. So I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Ryan, knowing what you know now about programming and all the kind of studying you've done on the different types of strength programming, would there be anything going back to your training for the bobsled and skeleton that you would change or you think would suit that kind of training better, or were they pretty on point with the training back then?
I think our coach was pretty good at the time. There's definitely things that I would add now, but it's not even like adding, it's more of like understanding like how important some of the stuff was, you know? Like I always wanted to get like really good numbers to compare to all of the other guys, but like I didn't understand at the time like how important like a super heavy power clean was or a super heavy squat because of how much it correlated to the track. And like I almost felt like it was just like a training program I had to do. Like all I cared about was like doing the sport. Whereas it's like, dude, like this is going to correlate like specifically to the sport. Like make sure you're doing the best you can. And I think I really did always do the best I can. But I never understood like the physiology around all of the training movements and why we were doing them. And like, if I was hurt, like what would I do differently? You know, I didn't understand any of that kind of stuff. I think a lot of coaches in general, it doesn't matter who they are, whether it's an NFL coach or, you know, the kind of coaching I do right now for a fitness app and people all over the world and stuff. It's like, you know, you have an idea of what you think everybody needs, but in reality, it's like everybody still needs like a little bit of tweaking. And it's like on the bobsled team, on the skeleton team, on any of those winter sports, what was happening was like we were all getting kind of like the same program. Or it was like the Olympic guys got this and the World Cup guys got this and the, you know, the regular dudes got this. It was just kind of like we all got that. And like if we had known a little bit about programming and all that stuff, I think I would have changed a few things here and there.
Did you ever see yourself as a bobsledder or a skeleton guy, or did you just consider yourself an athlete?
Dude, you'd be surprised. So like when I was in school in Hawaii and I was getting my helicopter license, and I wound up seeing a flyer for the Verizon phone company, like doing a recruitment tour all over the country. And at the time, I'm just flying helicopters, surfing. I was just like, you know, not really working out all that much. And I just got super motivated by it. And I thought of that guy from the gym in Tom's River. And I was like, fuck, like that would be so cool. And I just started training super, super hard with one of my friends who played football for University of Hawaii. And from there, it kind of just like gave me the confidence to kind of like try out and want to do it. So it was kind of like, it wasn't something I was expecting to do. It was just kind of like something that just like kind of popped on me. And just like, you know, when you like get confronted with a challenge, it kind of just changes the way you think about everything, you know, or like you get, you know, you got to do your homework, but all of a sudden like it has to be done by Friday. You know what I mean? Like you get a big project and it's like, I'm going to get to it, but all of a sudden, like, you know, your partner or whatever is like, dude, shit's got to be done like tomorrow. You're like, fuck. And then like, you just go all in. I think that's necessary sometimes in life to just have a challenge where you're like, I have to hammer this. And I just felt like I needed to do it.
And so was that ad that you saw, was the tryout, was that done in Hawaii or did you go?
So it went to every state. So like they just happened to be in Hawaii. Like when I saw the flyer and I was like, let's go.
It's kind of crazy when you think about it. I know you said they did it in every state, but that was for a couple summers. I feel like that was a thing at the Seaside Boardwalk where they, you know, there was a guy, I don't know if you're familiar with his name, but he was a coach at Tom's River North. His name was Bob Babiak, and he was a big strength guy too. And then there was a kid that I went to high school with, Frank DiPadova, who was a 400-meter runner who like made it through a couple rounds of those tryouts in Seaside. So it's kind of funny as you as a Jersey guy and being from Ocean County that they did this on the Seaside Boardwalk, and then here you are, you see something in Hawaii, and then boom.
I never even saw it in Tom's River or Seaside. I never wound up seeing it.
Yeah,
I haven't been to Seaside since it got ruined by the hurricane.
You're not missing much.
Yeah. Never. So, Ryan, one thing I think is really important to speak on that you've mentioned in prior interviews is having that mindset of wanting to open a gym or be a successful coach, but thinking you needed the credentials as an athlete. and never getting those credentials. And I know coming up as a wrestler, I had that same mindset. Like if I wasn't a state champ, if I wasn't a national champ, who was going to hire me? Who wanted to be coached by me? How did you get over that mental hump going from athlete to coach? And what do you think there's some things that some young entrepreneurs or coaches can kind of get into their head where it's not necessarily about how good of an athlete you are? It's more about being a good coach and how to be a good coach.
I mean, that part's tough, right? So like, I think it was a little bit easier for me than most people. And what I'd recommend, maybe it will come to light to me by the end of this, but like for me, I started my training app online, and I did have that chip on my shoulder where it was like, I wasn't the best athlete in the world. I was really, really good, but I wasn't the best. And it embarrassed me to kind of say, use my training app, because all of my friends that I competed against who were better than me would see that on social media. They'd be like, well, why is Ryan doing that? You know? So like, I used to think about that a lot, but I did it anyway. And I just did it kind of like secretly. Like I was just like, I put it out there and like, I'd make a post here and there, but I wasn't like hammering it. And it just got so much traction on its own. People kept tagging me and telling me about the workouts. And like, I'd go to someone else's gym in another state, and somebody'd be like, holy shit, you're Ryan Fischer. And like all this stuff would happen over and over and over again. And I was like, fuck man, like I am really good at this. Like I should just own it and whatever, and fuck everybody else, you know? So it just kind of was a natural progression of like that process. I think a lot of the big pushes I was getting was actually from the podcast and like getting that voice out there, and people were like, oh, I like the way he thinks about this. And then I started getting bigger on Instagram, and then started using different social media channels. But I guess if I was someone else, you know, who you want a big company, you want to be in fitness, you want to make money doing this type of thing. Cause like, you know, when I was in college, Instagram wasn't a thing. Like making a business on social media wasn't a thing. It was like my dream job was to be a strength conditioning coach for like an NFL team or a college football team or something like that. But now if I was younger, the same age, I'd be like, fuck, I want to be a social media guy and like have my own app, and I want to do all this other stuff. Cause like, you know, why would I want to be a strength conditioning coach for the NFL team, make $100,000 a year, you know, when I could make $100,000 a month, like on my own, doing my own thing, or, you know, the sky's the limit, whatever. Right. So I think if that was me, I'd be so passionate about what I loved that when I talked about it, it was just like, dude, this is the guy. Like, this is the guy, you know, like, and have so many like different things that like showed that like what you really liked and like what you really loved was like actually valid, right? Like a lot of people nowadays are using like the green screen on Instagram where like, here's a study about blah, blah, blah. And like, you know, or here's some of my clients that are doing this. And like, people love seeing the transformations. People love seeing testimonials. And people love like controversy. So like, you know, if one wrestling coach says that these moves are fucking dog shit, and you can show some of the best wrestling, you know, some of the best wrestling competitions in the world where people won using a move that someone else said is dog shit, and you can just keep showing that and be like, well, here's my guy, he won state championships with that move everybody says is bullshit. Like you can keep doing stuff like that. People are like, dude, this is a fucking guy. Like he's the guy. And people are going to like you because you're opposite of everybody else. Like the Liver King is a fucking weirdo, right? But everybody likes him. Like he's a weirdo, right? Like we all know he's a weirdo. He's on steroids. He's like, he's this, he's that. Like maybe people have something else they want to say about him, but it's like, he's so weird and he's so polar that people are just like, I'm probably just going to follow him. I might just buy his supplements for the fuck of it and see if I get like a 12 pack the next day. It's just like, if you can have that kind of polar effect in some way, fuck, have you seen that other guy, the meat guy? He's like, what is his name? He just like eats raw meat at Whole Foods. Have you seen him?
Paul Saladino,
Is that his name?
the doctor.
No, not him. There's another
No.
guy. I think it's called the Raw Meat Experiment is his Instagram.
Okay.
And he just buys meat at Whole Foods and he sits right in the little seating area and he just eats raw meat and drinks raw eggs and all this stuff. And his Instagram bio is like, eating raw meat from Whole Foods until I die from bacteria. And then like, and he just does it every day. And like, he wound up getting like hundreds of thousands of followers. He's on all these big podcasts because he's doing something that is not normal. And he has a stand on something that he thinks, you know, because people are like, dude, you can't eat that. You're going to fucking die. And he's like, watch me. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you could have that kind of effect, it's probably going to win, man.
Well, I guess before we pass over, touch on it. I know you have, nutrition stuff that you do as well. Have you dabbled in any of the raw meat or the raw liver, or do you eat organ meat at all?
I haven't, just because it's not the easiest thing to access. But I actually haven't talked about this yet. This will be the first time I've ever talked about it. So props to you guys for having it on the podcast. So I actually haven't told anyone. For like the last 2 weeks, I've been eating mainly exclusively just red meat and fruit. So I don't really eat any vegetables. I had some friends in town over the last week, and I went out to dinner and had meat that was cooked by the restaurant, and then a little bit of different pieces of dessert and different things that were not really on my menu of things to eat. But I did get the meat every time, at least for my entree. So I cheated a little bit there while they were in town. But for the majority of the time when I'm at home, I'm just eating the leanest red meat I could get. So we have a Trader Joe's a 20-minute drive from here. I'm way up in the mountains. But yeah, I'll get the 96% lean meat, or I'll get we have a local grocery store here, and I'll get the 93% they have there. So I'll get the leanest one I can, just so I can put, if I want to put an avocado, or if I want to put anything in it of some sort, if I want to add fat in some other way. I put coconut oil in my meat, which is after it's done cooking, I put coconut oil on top.
Do you ever?
I actually haven't done avocado, actually. I fucked that up, but if I ever did, I want to. Go ahead.
You ever have problems with too much fat with the coconut oil on the meat?
No, I feel the more coconut oil I have, I feel really good. So I really want, I actually don't understand why this is, but I do know that there's 3 different strands of fat. You have your short, your long, and your medium chain triglycerides. And coconut oil has a lot of medium chain, which is they say burns a little bit more fat than all the other triglycerides. So it's I do feel when I eat more coconut oil, I feel I get leaner. And it could just be because I'm eating more meat when I'm eating the coconut oil, and I'm just eating less calories overall. Definitely could be a theory. But I definitely feel I feel better when I have it. I know MCTs are supposed to be good for brain function. It's supposed to be good for making you feel better because you get rid of the brain fog because of the brain function. And a lot of all these, what do they call these things where it's they make you think more?
Nootropics?
What are those? Nootropics, yeah. A lot of nootropics nowadays are they have medium chain triglycerides in them. And I just feel really good when I have it.
Are you doing on the go or something in a crunch, maybe a tablespoon of just coconut oil or anything like that?
I have, especially at night, if I would get a craving and I feel I want to fuck up something that's not on my diet, I'll have a scoop of coconut oil, and I feel it doesn't taste great. So because of that, I feel I'm just yeah, I'm good.
What kind of fruit are you eating, and what kind of gave you the idea to go fruit and meat? Because I don't know if you're the 3rd person I've heard talk about this, and I haven't been just fruit. I've been having some yogurt with the fruit, but just yogurt and meat and fruit. So I'm just curious what kind of gave you the idea for it.
So I am under the have you seen the Carnivore MD guy?
Yeah.
So I just kind of like his style. I feel he's also another Liver King guy, though, where he has a monetary agenda. He has his own supplements and stuff, and you got to take that into account. But he does have really good arguments in terms of vegetables not wanting to be eaten, and how they don't digest the same. And he brings up a lot of the anatomy of the plants, and I'm fuck, man, that's a pretty good point. And he's a big fan of the fruit. So I did a little bit of research, and I feel the research is 50-50. It's always pretty hard to tell, but you don't really get very full from eating a bunch of vegetables. And so if you eat a bunch of meat and a bunch of vegetables, you're probably going to be way under on your calories, and you're probably going to lose a lot of weight. So I think as an athlete, as someone who's going to be pretty active, I'd rather have fruits over vegetables, just for the pure calorie aspect of it. Plus the sugar is something that makes you perform a little bit better. So you're not really going to be performing super great on the vegetables. Granted, somebody will argue with me on that and say that there's a bunch of micronutrients and this and that, but there's not that many calories. So, I like that aspect of it, and it makes me feel really good. I feel I eat the meat, I eat the fruit, and I'm good. You know what I mean? If I ate the meat and I ate the vegetables, I'd be so calorie deficient that I'd be like, fuck man, like I am dying. So there's that part of it that I think is good. But yeah, most of the fruits that I'm eating are actually frozen fruit in the freezer section at the grocery store. So like big bags of frozen fruit. And what I do is I take these like 3-pound bags and I put them in the fridge, and then it all just melts. And it's like this gooey fucking amazingness. And I put it in a bowl, and when I eat it, I'm like, it literally tastes like ice cream. It's like so fucking good. So that's my jam.
And it's working for you? You feeling good?
I do feel leaner. I feel great. Yeah, it's making me really, really appreciate, you know what, it actually, for a little while, I got kind of out of my groove, and I was getting like this like brown sugar shaken espresso from Starbucks, because I'm always like a nitro guy or a black coffee or whatever for such a long time. And then I was like, oh, this thing's only like 100 calories and it tastes insane. I'm for sure going to keep getting this. So I kept getting it. And like, as I started eating more of like the meat and the fruit, I got so sensitive to just like a lot of flavor. And then I wound up just being like, dude, I can't even drink this anymore. So like now it's like, it's forced me to go back to like black kind of ish coffee, just because my taste buds are so sensitive now.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Mentioning that drink, kind of what are your thoughts on calories versus nutrition? Is it all about the calories in your opinion, or do you think it's more about the nutrition and, you know, what you're getting from that particular food?
It's a tough question, man, because there's so many smart people out there that are just like, dude, it's just calories. But I feel like as much as it is just calories for aesthetic purposes, I'm not gonna argue the fact that like if you eat 3,000 calories of this food versus this food, that like you're gonna look drastically different. But I will argue that like the way that you feel, the way that you perform, like all these other factors that are more important than you realize are definitely a byproduct of what you're eating. Like you are what you eat is such a good tagline. I love that. And I feel like it really is, you know, it has some merit in it. I used to be so fucking strict. It was insane. Like I would eat with friends somewhere and like almost like put my finger down my throat and try to throw up because I ate something that like I didn't believe in, you know, like I was so paranoid about it. And then I got to a point where I was like, all right, it's cool. Like I'm just going to have like all these other things that I wouldn't normally have, like artificial sweeteners at Starbucks or whatever. And then I'd start going out to eat a lot more and all these things. And like my body didn't change very much. And I think in the beginning, I just mentally thought I would look different. I've always thought like the amount of money that I was making and how good my business was doing was directly correlated to the way that I looked. And I'm sure some of that is real and some of it's probably made up in my head. So being able to drift off and eat other things and be a little bit more flexible and be okay with that was very, very hard to do. But I'm happy I did it just because so I could like prove to myself I'm not a fucking psycho. And then now recently, like going back to the meat and the fruit, but like I said, I still went out and like went with my friends and like had my little break. But at the same time, it's it feels good, man. Like I just really feel like deep down in our genetics, it's like we're just like not meant to eat a lot of this shit. You know, like I get to when you're in the grocery store and you're in an aisle that you know you're not supposed to be in, like you're in the really processed like graham crackers and all this shit, you're just like, dude, fuck, man, what are people doing? It's just like, you know, it's like, and yeah, we all dabble every now and again. We're like, fuck it, I'm gonna have a graham cracker with some s'mores and it's fucking, you know, we're out here in Tahoe or whatever. But like, you know, you look around, it's like, what's the stats now? Like 70-75% like overweight and like just unhealthy. It's just like, how are we getting smarter with more technology, more material is available to us to the tip of our fingertips, and we're still getting fatter? Like, how is that a thing? Like, we should be getting in more shape. Like, there's fucking free workout programs out there nowadays. It's just like, dude, what the fuck?
You should come to South Carolina.
I haven't done a lot of South Carolina, but I did Charleston and it's sick.
Yeah. I'm up
Charleston is dope.
I'm up in the Blue Ridge and the Appalachian Mountains in the northwest corner, but I just moved here from Denver not too long ago, about a month ago. And, you know, in Colorado, you know, you kind of just, you take it for granted that, you know, the majority of the population is relatively active, you know, maybe not so much in the Front Range or in Denver, but it's a fairly lean population. And then I got down here and I was like, oh, so I was doing some fact checking, and I think South Carolina is like the 12th most obese state in the country. So there's a large population, no pun intended, or pun intended.
Yeah, I mean, anything south, not going to be great. I was just in Colorado. I was in the Highlands area, and then I was also in Boulder.
All right.
Right on.
Did you do any hiking or anything when you were out here?
I did the Flatirons like 10 times. I love the Flatirons. It's nice over in Boulder.
Now I know you've done Mount Whitney. Have you done any Colorado 14ers?
I have not. I've done actually a lot of hiking, dude. I've done some hikes in Norway, some hikes in Italy, Iceland, a lot of foreign stuff. I've done Mount Whitney 3 times. I've done Yosemite. Half Dome is an amazing hike in Yosemite, and yeah, a lot of good hikes.
Nice.
Do you have a favorite?
My favorite hike it's probably like a tie between it's called Cinque Terre in Italy. So Cinque stands for 5. So it's these 5 little fisherman villages. It's a 10-mile hike, and every 2 miles, I want to say, you wind up hitting an extra little fisherman village. So like you start in one village and you go up in the mountains and you hike for a little bit and you come back down, and it opens up to this amazing village. So like you're just like, holy fuck, this is gorgeous. So you go down, you jump in the water, swim around, whatever, get some food, and you go up and you go to the next village, and it takes you the whole day. You just kind of like make a day out of it. But it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And then the second one, which it would definitely a tie, is called Preikestolen, and it's in Stavanger, Norway. And it is insane. It's the one and only hike that I hiked up, and like, I mean, I was alone. I went completely solo, and I literally just cried by myself. I was like literally just on the mountain, just crying by myself. I felt like such a pussy, but I was like, this is insane. Like, I can't believe this is like a real thing.
Yeah, Norway's got some epic terrain, and that's going back to the wingsuit stuff. That was kind of my first introduction to that, was seeing videos of those guys like flying against the grain of the spin of the earth. And those and one of the best ultra marathoners in the world, Kilian Jornet, he lives in Norway now. He's originally from Spain.
Dude,
but
he's insane. His videos of him going up like the little mountain peaks, I'm like, oh my God, this is mental.
Yeah, it was one of his first kind of documentary movies. It's called, I think it's called Summit of My Life. And he was with one of his mentors, and they were hiking, and his mentor like fell through a crevasse, like the ice, the snow gave way, and he fell like, 1,000, 2,000 feet to his death. But they were doing that while they were filming the documentary. It's a pretty amazing documentary.
Oh, wow. So they actually have footage of him falling.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. With your hiking experience and knowing how much you enjoy it, have you ever thought of or considered doing like a through hike, like the PCT or the AT or the El Camino Trail, something like long?
I don't really like the long stuff so much. I got pretty hyped for a while about doing like Denali or like Everest or like one of those big ones. And I really was like, all right, it'll be like probably like a week or something. And I looked it up, and I started like, when I got like more into it, I was like, oh fuck, dude, like Everest takes like 46 days.
Yeah.
and Denali's like 21 days. I was like, dude, I don't have that kind of time to like not be near any of my work at all for that long. So I just don't think it's going to be a reality. You know what? Hiking up for me is really not that bad. It's hiking down with my knee is pretty bad. So I think about that a little bit too. But it would be cool to do like something insane, like one of those massive ones, just to put on the list would be awesome. But fuck, man, I don't know. A mountain for a whole month is tough.
Yeah. How do you handle altitude? You do pretty good?
Yeah, like Mount Whitney's like I think Mount Whitney's like almost 15K. It's like 14 something, but it's like high up there. And I've done okay. I usually take the medicine, like the pills that you take for like a high altitude sickness. Okay. I take them before I go, just in case I get it. But you feel it on Whitney. You get to like the upper part where you only have like a half a mile to a mile left. you start walking slow and like you start like feeling like shit. You can definitely feel it.
Yeah, we lived in Leadville, Colorado for a bit, and Mount Elbert, which is just below Whitney, is the second highest peak in the lower 48. That was in our backyard. I mean, we could be at the trailhead in probably 25, 30 minutes. And so it would, in the summertime, it would be sort of like a weekly or bi-weekly occurrence to go and do that summit. It's probably about, was it like 9-10 miles, Jim? Round trip?
7, Albert.
7.
Albert's 7, Massive is 14.
Okay.
See, Whitney's like 26.5 miles, bro.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's like a fucking far. It's the whole day. When you said you were doing it multiple times a week, I was like, oh fuck, bro. But because I thought it was like 20 miles. Because yeah, Whitney's far. Even Half Dome in Yosemite is like 16 miles.
Okay. I had to just put it out there. I have run the Leadville 100 3 times.
Oh shit, that's pretty dope. Have you run it too?
No,
he's my crew chief.
I'm not that crazy.
Dude, that is nasty. That's a good run right there.
Yeah, 2014 I was 7th, and then 2017 I was 14th, and 2018 I was 16th.
Wow, so you probably ran with Goggins.
In
front of Goggins.
Yeah, I think he was he might have been 18 or 19. I can't remember which year it was, but I think he was about around 23 hours, and my best is 19 hours and 27 minutes, and my slowest was like 21:15, I think.
Shit. So you still run a lot now?
Yeah, I'm a little bit older and a little bit more banged up, but I have a 50 miler in November, and then I'm going to do one last 100 in April, and then I think I'm going to kind of shift my focus to trying to plan for one of those through hike adventures.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, something a little bit slower, a little bit longer, a little bit crazier.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool. Like when you do the PCT, like you know, people can kind of like send packages to themselves like a month out, and like you get a pair of extra clean boots like a month in or whatever. Like that's kind of a cool way to do it. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Ryan, so to bring it a little bit back to coaching, there's no way I can get you on the call and not talk about building an online community and online built business, because you're in Tahoe right now, and obviously you can work from anywhere and do what you do with the online stuff, and that's kind of the goal for. I know it's a goal for me and Rich, so I definitely want to pick your brain on that. I think that the first part of all this that I want to ask you is, you say your goal is when you go into a new place or you meet someone is to make sure everyone likes you. And I try to be like that, but there's just some days where I do not like people or I am not in a good mood, and it's kind of hard to bring that back around. But I think probably the key to having the following that you have is being as authentic as you are and presenting that all the time. So how do you always kind of be on that level 10, and how do you navigate those rough days or those rough people? Because I don't know about you, but I know back in my days of coaching CrossFit, there was a couple members that would pull up and just ruin. Oh man, he came. So how do you deal with that stuff?
I mean, there's always ways to deal with those people. It's like you almost kill them with kindness because they know that like you don't like them, and it's like it's just such an amazing skill. I mean, there's definitely times where I'm not good at it either, but it's mainly now where I'm at now. But like when I wasn't where I'm at, and like all I cared about was just like getting better and better and better and creating something out of nothing. When you have nothing, it's really, I feel like the less you have, the easier it is to just swallow it and just be like, dude, just fucking be the best person here, because you just never know what's going to happen. The craziest thing for me is just like being that way, because like my first couple breaks were always from people that I never expected them to be from. They were people who helped me, who like I just never imagined that they would do that. And I knew that it was only because every time I saw that person, I was like having my best day. Or every time I saw that person, I was excited to see them. So like I would just bring the best version of myself forward, no matter how shitty of a mood I was in before that. And it was just kind of like, it would just create these doors that would open up. And I don't know, man. I just kind of, sometimes you're just on a podcast and you have a great podcast and people like, I went on, who did I go on? Mark Bell. I was on his just like a month or two ago. And just being on his podcast, I got hit up by like so many people. They're like, dude, your podcast was awesome. Like your energy was awesome. And like, I could easily have a shitty day and get on the podcast and they would just be a completely different human being. And I think it's deep down because I know that's it's going to pay off. I feel like for you, it's hard right now because maybe it hasn't paid off for you the way that you want it to yet. But once it happens one time, you're going to be like, dude, this is the way to go. I feel like it will happen for everyone, in my opinion. Like it's really, really hard for people not to love you when like you love what you love to do so much. Like when people look at you, like hopefully they know like what you're all about in some shape or form. And like when you're that all about it, like the Liver King again, right? It's like he's so all about his 9 ancestral tenets or whatever, where you're just like, even though you don't even like him, you're just like, fuck, man. Like it's like he really believes in it. It's really cool.
Were you always like that? Have you had that pre regionals 2013, or was that something that came kind of after that experience and that sort of event?
I think it really came for me when I was coaching classes at a gym that I didn't own. And this other guy that I was personal training, he kind of asked me like, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, man, I'd like to open a gym one day, but there's just too many gyms in town. I don't really feel like it would do that well. I'm like, plus I don't have any fucking money. And eventually we just kept talking and talking and talking. And then one day he told me that he was the person who made MySpace and he was extremely rich, right? And he just drove a really shitty F-150 pickup truck. Like his hands are always covered in grease, like working on his cars. Like you would never think this guy had like $100 million. So one day he's just like, dude, like I really believe in you. I think that like I got a friend who has a space and I'll give you any amount of money you think you need for the gym and we'll I think we should do it. And I was like, dude, I want like $1 million, I just like freaked out. I was like, I want $1 million, and he's just like, I'll give you $1 million. He's like, but you do realize like you pay $1 million for a gym, you got to pay me $1 million back. And I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, maybe I'll take $500,000, and then, so we made an agreement and the agreement was interesting. So I had, what did I have saved? I had $60,000 saved at the time. And he was like, if we do this, I want every dollar you have in your bank account. Like I want your $60,132.72 just wired. And I was like, fuck. And so I did that. And I borrowed 10 grand from my mom. And then I basically had to pay my mom back first. And then whatever money I started to get, I started to pay him back. And then we kind of just went from there. So it was like a super, super, like he believed in me a lot, but he also was like, I don't want this kid to think that, money grows on trees or like, this isn't a big deal. I want him to understand it's a big deal. So like, I'm being really casual about giving him this opportunity, but I need him to be extremely serious about how he needs to come through. So I still talk to him all the time. He's a great person in my life. And he was that first person that gave me that chance. And then I just like crushed it for him. And then when I started Chalk Online, the online training version of the whole thing, like obviously Chalk wouldn't be without him. So then now we go to the Chalk Online version and he's absolutely entitled to making money, right? He's part of the brand. When I started making money online on the app, he's like, dude, I just want you to keep it. I just want you to like have your own money. So take it. And I was like, it's making a lot of money right now. And he's like, yeah, I had my time too. Like, enjoy it, like so casual. I was like, fuck me. This is only because like, I had these moments where someone would give me $100 for some clothes or something. And I'd put it in my pocket. And then like, later that weekend, I'd be like, hey, Aaron, like I forgot, like there's $100. Like I forgot, like you want to split it or whatever. And then, he just like knew I was like a good dude and I wasn't going to screw him over. And I was always going to put my best foot forward and always just like crush classes and all this stuff. And then the second time it hit me was when I was on a podcast with a girl who was telling me how she started running online ads for her training programs. She started making all this money. And I was like, huh. I was like, well, like when the podcast was over, I just was like, would you mind like sharing with me like the company that you use or the person that you use or like what the fuck you do? Because that's like really cool and I'd love to do that. And she was like, yeah, sure. Like, you know, you've always been so great to me and like whatever. And then all of a sudden my business like 10x'd overnight. Like literally, like it was crazy. Like my online books and all my stuff at the time was making like $4,000 a month. And then literally when I started using her ad agency, all of a sudden I started making like $40,000 a month. And that was like my net revenue, like instantly. Like we're talking 1 month. Like I literally went from making $4,000 to 40 a month in 1 month. And I was like, holy fuck. And then like the girl who billed me, who was running my ads, her bill was like $3,000, I think, for helping me like do all this. And I remember I gave her $6,000. And she's, what's this? You paid me for 2 months? I was like, no, keep it. Like, well, I'm fucking rich, bitch. Like, this is crazy. So, so the next month comes by, right? And then, you know, I make it again. Like, I think I made maybe 50K or something. And then I gave her $6,000 again. And then I was like, how much money do you make at your job? She's like, oh, I make like $60,000 a year or something. And I was like, if you can make me $100,000 in a month, I'll give you $10,000 as a bonus. And she was like, let's go. So then she like wound up quitting her job. And like now I still use her to this day. I think we've been doing this for like 4 or 5 years now. I talk to her every day. We like make our ads together and kind of make strategies and different things like that. And so that was the second time it hit me. The third time was meeting Alex Hormozy, if you know him. You know who that is?
I listened to some of his podcasts with Mark Bell. I actually heard you talk about him and then went and searched him.
He's insane. Like if you guys really want to get good at business and want like some really cool, insane information that's free. Because his whole business is that he wants businesses that are already making like 3 to 5 million a year to use him to 10x the business and sell it. So all of his content is essentially him telling you how to make 3 to 5 million a year. And he's not holding back. He like really wants you to make it because when you get there, he wants to help you get to the next step. He's the first person I've ever seen who's like truly not holding back, telling you how to make a lot of money. It's crazy. His content's dope.
So when are you selling chalk?
Huh. I have so much work to do to like get everything up to that point where it would be something I could sell. Like right now, it's just a lot of people who follow my stuff. If you look at the chalk Instagram, it's not me on there as much. I am trying to make it seem like it's a brand and it's not just me. And then from that point, you know, I'd like to get my own app done. I kept trying to build my own app. It's such a pain in the ass. I can't get over how hard it is. But once I get that at some point, or have some sort of agreement where I can use someone else's app, but at least have it be like mine in the app store or something along those lines, I would definitely be looking to do something like that. And then I don't know what I would do. I don't know if I would do fitness again or I would just be one of those old guys who does real estate or something.
If you just hang out in the woods in the backdrop you got there, would be pretty sick.
I don't think I'd ever like not want to be in fitness. I like fitness a lot. I like making programs. I like when people hit me up and are like, dude, you changed my life. Here's my photo. And all that stuff is so cool. I don't really get over that. I just get over like working like really long hours, but like what I do is awesome. I love it every day. It's great.
Are you
and
doing
social media? Social media sucks. I hate posting on social media.
Do you do that or do you have someone do it for you at this point?
I do it all.
So with that being said, how do you, and then knowing that you just said you hate it, and I think a lot of people are at that point, how do you navigate the waters? Are you a post and ghost kind of guy? Are you checking analytics and stuff like that? Or how do you navigate the waters of, you know, sitting in that backdrop there and not worrying about social media?
I don't check the analytics very often. I mean, I look at the engagement and stuff like that, and I know like when a good post is good and when a bad one's bad. But I always like see the positive side in all the posts where it's like, yeah, maybe I didn't go viral on this post. It didn't get a ton of reach, but it's like, it's the one post that did really shitty that I got the most messages from. Like people will DM me and be like, dude, that post was awesome. And it's like, when you have a million view posts, it's like no one tells you shit. You get a lot of comments on it. Maybe people are laughing or like, oh, that was great. But like when I have a shitty post is when I get a DM from someone. It was like a real emotional connection with somebody. And I'm like, dude, it's fine. I think it's all worth posting, you know, unless you're just being an idiot. You just post like yourself taking a shit or something. But like, you know, I feel like there's a lot of, I mean, even if you did, somebody'd be like, this guy fucks, you know, like he's like a picture of himself shitting. But like, so you never really know, you know what I mean?
Did you put it? I feel like did you do a commercial or something on the toilet or something? Or am I just making that up?
Dude, I might have. I've done some crazy stuff. One of my best ads of all time is like me wearing a turtleneck in my kitchen. And I'm like, I don't know what's hotter, like the 50,000 bodies I've changed with the Earn Your Carbs challenge or this turtleneck. Like click the link below, find out. It like did so good. It's like, it's a total fitness challenge ad, but I'm like wearing a turtleneck and have like nothing to do with fitness. It's like a Geico commercial, you know?
I was just curious, Ryan. I know you mentioned, you know, you had some knee issues that kind of prevents you from really running more than say like 400 meters and stuff. And I know, you know, hearing about you riding your bike and stuff, and then it seemed like, you know, you got on the road bike and were putting in some rides and stuff. What does fitness look like for you currently?
So I still go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm not doing the same movements I used to do. So like, I'm not doing like a lot of traditional back squats. I'm doing a lot of like single leg squats, and I only go as heavy as my bad leg can go. Deadlifts, I do deadlifts occasionally, but a lot of times I like to do like a single leg deadlift. So I'm doing a lot of that stuff to make sure that I'm not like, you know, getting too strong on one side than the other. Also, when I use two legs, it's really hard for me to stay even because the one leg is so weak. I don't do any impact. So like no box jumps, no running. I'm fine on the bike. All that stuff is good. I mainly just like work out to look good. And like when it comes to like performance, I like to do that like in my outdoor stuff, whether it's on a bike or if I go paddle boarding or whatever. I definitely miss like crushing myself doing different things. But it's crazy, man. Like I think I used to like doing all that stuff, not only because I liked it, but because it like I looked good. And now I'm training way less than I used to. And I'm older, like significantly older. Like I'm probably 10 years older than like my best shape I was ever in, but I really don't look that much different. And I'm training way less. I have way more fun. Yeah, it's just like, you just get smarter.
Yeah.
And it's like, you want to tell the younger kids now, you're like, dude, why the fuck are you doing that? And like, they'll just never understand until they get older.
Yeah, totally. Have you ever looked into maybe going down to Panama and getting some stem cells or something like that? Try that out, or have you tried that?
I've had stem cells in the States, 2 different occasions, and I like injected some shit in my knee. I forget what it was called. It was like some sort of peptide, but it was like, it had a really long number attached to it. It wasn't like the TB500 that a lot of people talk about. It was something else. And I feel like it helped for like a little bit, and then it kind of went away. I've tried pretty much everything, man. I've had PRP injections in there. I've never done a cortisone shot because I know cortisone makes your tissue break down. Yeah. So I was like, well, if it's only going to make me feel better, then like, I don't really care. I'd rather just have the pain and just know that I'm being an idiot versus mask it with the cortisone and then just maybe fuck it up worse.
True. Was that BP 157? Was that the peptide?
That might have been it.
Okay. I know Ben Greenfield has talked about that, but I'm always kind of skeptical of, you know, doing things on the Silk Road these days at 46.
Yeah, dude. It's a lot of the peptide stuff is like seriously unregulated. So it's kind of terrifying to take any of it. Like, I feel like when people ask me, like, what do you think about peptides? I'm like, dude, if you think you're going to take something like that's that sketch, like you might as well just go all the way and just take real fucking steroids. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't even think anyone should take that unless, I mean, fuck, I don't even know what a good reason would be for that. I'm like, I guess like if you truly have low testosterone or something like that.
Right on. I appreciate your insight.
Which at your age, 40, you have 46?
46 going on 47 in February.
Have you ever had your levels checked?
Yeah.
Where are you at?
It's been a minute. I couldn't even tell you what it was. It was like It's like mid-range to low mid-range around there.
Yeah, that's like where I'm at too. I'm at like, it's like 0 to 1200. I think I'm at like 350.
Yeah.
So I've thought about it. Like I'm totally honest. If someone's like, "Oh, would you take stuff or whatever?" I'm like, I would. Like I think about it now that I'm older. I'm like, I wonder what it would be like to have my levels at 1,000. Like, what does that feel like? But I asked like Mark Bell and some of his brothers and stuff, and some of his people, his crew, when I was out there, and they're like, some of them are like, dude, I make such a huge difference, and some of them are like, dude, I don't feel shit. So I'm like, dude, I don't know if I want to take that plunge if I'm not gonna feel anything.
Yeah. And I also think like I would really want to find the right doctor that like is in the know and kind of knows the ins and outs. Someone like a Dr. Mark Gordon or someone like that, that's really like, you know, knows what the heck they're doing, and not someone that's like, okay, you're at 350, you know, take, you know, half a cc, you know, every 2 days or every 3 days, and then you know, come back in 6 months and we'll test it again. Like I want something a little bit more dialed in than that to really be doing it right.
Yeah, totally. I feel like the only plus from it that like it makes me curious is like, I wonder if I would just feel so much better in terms of like going to the gym and then like going out and like doing active stuff, and I just feel amazing, you know. Like I don't know, because right now I feel pretty good. I just don't know the difference.
I feel pretty good. You know, I definitely have a little bit harder time recovering from some of the longer efforts where I'm like, man, I'm fucking old. But other days it's like, all right, I still feel like I'm, you know, 25 or 30 and can tee it up and go. But those are few
Yeah.
and far between now.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I turn 36 next month.
Okay. You still got some time. I didn't really feel like the wheels started to come off until I was like 39 or 40. When you were with Mark, did you happen to try one of those Mind Bullet Kratom potions?
I did. It tasted absolutely awful.
How was it though? How'd you feel?
I don't remember really feeling very much off of it. Yeah, I don't think I did feel very much on it. If I did, then I don't remember it too much where it was enough for me to remember.
Have you messed around with any of the different types of kratom for your like with, I know you said you'd rather just kind of feel everything so you know what you're getting yourself into, but have you ever tried like some of the kratom for like your knee discomfort and stuff?
I haven't, no. You think it would help?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of, you know, the big kind of what's made it known as it's really good for getting people off of like opiates and stuff, you know. So there's different strains, kind of like marijuana, but I think the one that Mark uses for his potion is like the green vein, and then I've heard from some people that are in the know that like the red vein is kind of more for like pain management and stuff like that.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't really looked into kratom at all. I think the first time I really like heard about it was when I was on Mark's podcast.
Okay. Cool.
It tastes like gasoline.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. The concentrate or the extractions are pretty gross.
Yeah.
And it's hard to dry scoop it too because it's not water soluble.
Yeah,
so
it's tough.
Kind of like doing a teaspoon of cinnamon.
After all the years of competing and then owning a CrossFit and kind of now doing it online, you still have the CrossFit chalk brick and mortar. What are your thoughts on CrossFit after all it's kind of been through the peaks of, you know, the group fitness and going to solely competition and then trying to rebrand itself? Do you think someone needs to open up a CrossFit to have a successful gym or business, or do you think they can do it all online with PDFs and programming?
I definitely don't see the point of opening a brick and mortar at all. I feel like if you want to build yourself a little jail cell, then it's good to have. Because that's basically what you're doing, right? Like you're going to put hundreds of thousands of dollars, or let's just say 100,000 to be conservative, into a space. But like what you could do with that online would be so much better. Like you'd be able to build out so much stuff, and you don't even need to spend money on ads. You could just reach out to people and different things like that. Like there's so many different outreach ways that you can do for free. But as a brand, my opinion on CrossFit's pretty strong. Like I just feel like I don't feel like it's for everybody, you know. And like I was a diehard CrossFitter, and it's really hard for me to watch a class where people are struggling with snatches or struggling with a movement. And it's like, I understand that you're here to have fun and you're here to be something that's a little bit more than just fitness, but like a lot of these people only have an hour in the day to get fit. And it's like, it really makes me nervous to think, and self-conscious, to be honest. It's like, you're going to go to my gym and I'm going to give you these workouts where some of them have a lot of skill in it and some of them don't. But at the end of 2 months, 3 months, you might look the same because you're just learning how to do something. But if I was to give you like squats, deadlifts, and presses, like basic strength movements, and I gave you some fucking heart fucking throbbing cardio in conjunction with it, I just didn't give you the advanced stuff like a muscle up or a snatch or a handstand push up, you're going to look amazing. And yeah, maybe you won't go to the CrossFit Games, but who gives a flying fuck? No one in that gym is going to the CrossFit Games. It's like 0.001%. It maybe even more than that of like people in gyms that are going to go to the CrossFit Games. So it's like, there's this weird dichotomy where people who start doing CrossFit just expect that they're just going to go compete. But it's like, when you understand the dedication that's needed to be able to compete at even a decent level, it's like, you have to quit your job, homie. Like, you can't, like, that's just not a reality. Just like, go have fun. And like, if we're going to have fun, like, let's look good at the same time. So to do that, like, we just need to get rid of a lot of the advanced movements. Like, I think you're starting to see a shift now where it's going from high skill, like all this crazy shit, to like a little bit more like bodybuilding style with conditioning. It's like a slow transfer that's like very apparent. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more gyms kind of break off of the CrossFit brand, own their own facility. It's like a strength conditioning facility or whatever it is. And it's going to be conducted in a little bit more of like a longevity manner, because like a lot of the sports, like a lot of the high end CrossFit is like, it's just not conducive to longevity. You just can't. I mean, like Olympic weightlifters, for instance, like they tap out at a certain age, right? It's just like, because their body is destroyed.
Such a wild phenomenon from like 2000, maybe 11 to as late as maybe 2014 or 15, where you had every, Yahoo in the gym that was trying to be on the competition team. And I'm like, you're not, I've been to the CrossFit Games. I was a spectator, but I've been there. You're not, like you said, you got to quit your job to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Ryan, we got 4 rapid fire questions we ask our guests. So the first one I got for you is, are you a coffee drinker?
Am I a coffee drinker?
Yeah.
We already talked about that.
Yes.
How do you take your coffee, and how do you brew it?
I usually just do black. I usually get either the I like the nitros. And
Starbucks?
Sadly, I like all of them. Okay. So we have a place here called Drink Coffee Do Stuff. they have it's an amazing name, but they have great coffee. And yeah, I like fancy coffee shops if they're around.
Are you a multiple cup guy?
No, I usually only have one a day, and like 2 is rare. But like if I'm around people and we're doing something, for sure I'll do 2, but I'm not like 3-4 cups a day kind of guy.
Were you ever?
I was, and I used to cramp a lot when I would train or like do any sort of like biking or anything active. I'd cramp all the time. And I just knew it's because I was dehydrated from all the coffee.
Yeah. Ryan, do you have any daily practices or rituals you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of yourself?
Absolutely not. None. The only thing I just happen to like wake up and work right away. Like it's within like 10 minutes of opening my eyes, I start working. I feel like for me, it's just like when I get the best work done.
Okay.
But I could easily like wake up and go to the gym, It's like, I don't have to do it. I have no rituals.
Okay.
Is that on purpose, or is that just you're not a ritual guy?
I feel like there's just no need for it, really. Like I used to like it and think it was cool, but then I was like, dude, man, I'm spending like an hour like doing all these rituals. I could have like made some money.
True.
I guess my rituals are why I'm poor. Ryan, what are you listening to right now? Music-wise, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
Audiobooks right now. Let me see what I have on here. So my recent books, I just read The Inner Game of Tennis, Scientific Principles of Hypertrophy from Dr. Mike Israelty, who owns RP Strength. Insane book for anyone who wants to know a lot about like programming, like actual making amazing programs for people. Scientific Principles of Hypertrophy, insane. I got this other book from my friend Alex Ramosi. He told me to read it. It's called Yes, and it's about influencing people and getting them to like you and buy from you. Amazing book. It's by Noah Goldstein. And then I also just bought Influence, which is another version of that book, but a little bit higher level. It's from Robert Cialdini. He said it's one of the best books he's ever read. It's made a huge impact on his career. So I read that as well recently. Those are the ones I've read recently. Also, my friend's book is very good. It's called $100 Million Offers. Alex Ramosi's book. It's #1 best-selling business book on Amazon right now. Pretty good. It's like a purple. Okay. $100 Million Offers. It's a great book if you want to know how to make an offer that's so irresistible that it makes people feel stupid to say no.
All right. What do you like to listen to when you work out?
I actually have not listened to music when I worked out in a very long time.
Okay.
I either just do no music or sometimes I will listen to like a podcast, but it depends. Like if it's a very serious day, I'm trying to be strong, then I won't listen to anything. I'll just be in my own brain.
All right.
People freak out over that. I ride my bike, paddleboard, all these things. No music.
Yeah, I've stepped away from that for a while now. I just kind of like to, like you said, kind of be in my own head or at least be aware of my surroundings and taking in the surroundings and listen to nature.
Dude, for sure. Like if you're going to go on a long run, like people are like, oh, you got to have music. I'm like, dude, the best part of the run is like being on the fucking run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like being in that moment. Like you don't ever really get a lot of chances anymore to think.
Yeah, it blows people away when I tell them all 3 Leadvilles that I've done, I didn't have any music.
Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah. You have a go-to podcast?
I haven't listened to a podcast in a long time either.
Okay.
Just haven't really, because I like books a lot. Yeah, I do like podcasts. I just haven't done them in a while.
Okay. Last but certainly not least, it's totally cool if you don't, but if you do you get down with conspiracies? And if so, do you have a favorite one?
I feel like the COVID stuff definitely deserves a nice conspiracy. I don't know. Like, I'm not really into conspiracies, but I'm like, dude, I really feel like they wanted everyone to go online and like kind of like start these online businesses and different things like that. But I honestly don't know. It's hard to say. I've listened to a few of them where I was definitely pulled into it. I was like, oh, this is weird. But most of the time, no. Just COVID, I feel like, is something that like I could see myself believing a conspiracy.
All right. You're not alone.
I change my websites and different things a lot. So the best way to find everything is always just my Instagram. It's ryanpfisch, RYANFISCH. And just click the link in my bio. You'll have access to all the things that I do. Mainly, I'm known for my training programs on my app. I actually took down all of my PDFs. All my ebooks are gone now. You can no longer get them because I only want people to use the app. And then now I just started a few months ago. My girlfriend and I started a company. It's called Chalk VIP, and it's like premium, like one-on-one coaching. So everybody gets their own custom training programs and nutrition, and they get their own coach, and it's pretty awesome. Like if you don't know a lot about like what to do, this is like, it's awesome. And I have my own custom app in the App Store for that particular program.
So, couple questions off of that. I guess it's good that I have all the old PDFs saved, but if you don't have all the old PDFs, when you get the app, are you buying them as you go through that, or once you get the app, you're paying for all the programs?
When you get the app, you get all the programs.
Okay.
It's actually a lot cheaper than the ebooks because the app is, I changed it now. It used to be $20 a month. Now it's $30 a month, or it's $120 for the whole year, which is a crazy deal for the year. So that winds up being like $10 a month. So I changed it to that because now people just go on the app and they can actually track everything within the app, you know, because that's my biggest thing with the PDFs is like, it's cool to have, but you can't really like write inside of them or anything like that. So the app is like, it will show you the history for every movement you've ever done. It's just such a better way of going into the gym and doing the programs. So as much as it hurt me to take them down, because trust me, I lose money by taking them down, I just want to provide a better service. So I was like, I want everyone to go to the app.
Right on. Well, we love your PDFs, and they've definitely, gotten us some swole from time to time.
Hell yeah.
when we dabble as lightweights.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What do you guys both like to do right now for your fitness, like outside the gym? Like, you're obviously a runner. What do you like to do?
I'm on that Rob Earthstees right now. I'm sun gazing, barefoot walking and earthing and yoga and stuff. My days of crushing myself are kind of at a standstill. I'm kind of healing the body right now. Prior to that, I used to do a lot of your stuff, a lot of your apps, a lot of kettlebell, a lot of HIIT stuff. But I think I'm 35 now, and I was doing athletics starting like third grade. So I think I'm at a point now where my body's just like, we need to recover.
Yeah, I respect that.
He's a purple
There's a
belt
lot
in
of
jiu-jitsu too.
Oh, nice. There you go. No big deal.
That's kind of what started the path that I'm on now. I had a knee injury and kind of had to change the way I look at everything and change, because I can't roll like I used to. I can't train like I used to. So kind of had to pull back. Like there'd be days I'd try to do like a CrossFit WOD and couldn't walk for a week. So I'm just trying to move and do it, listen to my body.
You got to do it, man.
Yeah.
You either do what you're doing right now, or you're the person who keeps pushing through it and is super fucked up. And then you're so mad at yourself for like being so stupid for so long. It's like, if people just can nip it in the butt when it's actually shitty, it's a better way to go.
Well, one thing that you preach, Ryan, is diet, right? How nutrition is everything and you're not going to outwork around that. I feel like once I kind of got a grasp of that, the need to want to crush myself or get that burn kind of went away, because I know as long as I eat well, I'm going to look all right.
Yeah. I proved that when I got bicep surgery. I literally just like ate really well for like 3 or 4 months. It didn't work out at all. And I looked like pretty decent still. I lost muscle, that's it. But like my body still looked the same. I was just smaller.
Ryan, one last one for me. I know you got that amazing backdrop and you've done some amazing hikes, but you also said you spend some time still in Orange County. If you had to pick, is your preference in the mountains or at the ocean?
Oh, that's hard. I mean, it's so hard that like I chose to do both, right? Fuck, if I had to do one, I'd probably pick like living in like Hawaii, where you have like the big mountains and you have the ocean. Because like we have the mountains in California too. They're just not as big. Right. But I do like Orange. I mean, we have some mountains in Laguna Beach. You can mountain bike and you can surf and stuff, but it's crowded as fuck.
Yeah.
There's like 7 people live here. This is great.
Have you ever been to South America?
I have not been to South America.
You probably like Ecuador.
Yeah, I'd like to check that out. I'd like to go to Patagonia. Would be on my list.
Yeah. Ecuador is kind of similar, where you have like, you could be at the beach and then, you can be in the mountains and do 2 in one day kind of thing.
That'd be great. I'd love to check that out.
Yeah.
Ryan, thank you so much. At the beginning of this show, you said, doing your podcast led you to meeting cool people. Just know you're one of the people that have been on that list, someone we've wanted to talk to since we've started this thing. We've been listening to you prior to starting this thing back in 2019. So thank you for taking the time out of your day. Thank you for being you and always putting out awesome content. Thanks.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was an honor and pleasure. And whenever we can connect with a Jersey guy, and even more specifically an Ocean County guy, make that connection right off the bat, it usually lends itself to a pretty rad conversation. So we really do appreciate your time, and hope nothing but the best for you, and keep crushing it.
Thank you, guys. If you guys have any little clips or anything that you want me to share, just send them my way. Let me know.
For sure, will do.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Take care.